Papua New Guinean shareholders banged by Fiji and Samoan heavyweights into what former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill calls it, economic whole-blow treasurer. Now you are curious, but what is it? The richest black Christian nation on earth has been taken from the back. Now, listen to a few more slides and you will be surprised at something you never thought possible. You hear people say, PNG got political independence but not economic independence. What they mean is that PNG runs politics in the Parliament House, but do not make decisions in the boardrooms of corporations that manages billions of dollars in the commerce and industry space that creates wealth for its shareholders. In saying corporations, what do we mean? Well, these are huge businesses that generate billions of revenue. That when it declared its profits and net gains and assets, those values are redistributed in monetary terms to the shareholders. Then, what are some of the significant big companies in Papua New Guinea? Well, they are the companies that are listed on the PNG Stock Exchange, namely New Britain Palm Oil, Interoil, Steamship Trading, City Pharmacy Limited, Newcrest Mining, Kina Bank, Bank South Pacific, etc. Amongst those listed, one of them is more important than all other corporations, not merely by the financial value it generates, but its role in the economic system of Papua New Guinea. The company is BSP, or the Bank South Pacific. Banks like this in every other countries are called SIFI, or Systematically Important Financial Institution. Essentially, it means that such bank as BSP. If it fails, the entire economy of Papua New Guinea will fail. It will simply be a system failure in the economy that the whole economic system will collapse. And for this very reason, such bank as BSP is highly monitored and managed within strong economic frameworks and stringent regulations. Not only such, but looked after by the government, as if this is its life and blood. Now, let's talk about BSP, which is the bank that is systematically important to the PNG economic system. The bank's boss, or the chairman, is a Samoan traditional chief. It is not the Prime Minister of PNG that you voted him to power, okay? Meaning, even though James Marape promised a rich Christian black nation on earth to Papua New Guineans, James Marape cannot control and generate economic value for PNG in one of its important corporation, the BSP Bank. Why? Because majority shareholders of BSP are not Papua New Guineans. Then what went wrong? When James Marape and his treasurer Ian Ling Stuckey borrowed too much money from external banks, the Treasury Department has to repay the loans every month with an active cash flow and sufficient cash on hand. When active revenues sourced from taxes, licensing fees, etc. are channeled towards repaying such active loans, other expenditure areas like public servants' salary and medicines has no cash money to pay for them. So what must Marape and Ling Stuckey do? Under pressure, Marape and his state-owned enterprises minister William Dumas has to convert an important asset into needed liquid cash. Now, what important asset should they sell for urgent cash? Well, it is the MVIL shares in BSP, transferring ownership of such important shares to a foreigner. The cash they got, they spent it already. But you know what? It created another problem. It continued to sink PNG into what Peter O'Neill called it, an economic hole or whole-blow treasurer. This situation is usually called the rat race, where you, trying to solve one problem, get loan, repay more loan, get much more loan, repay much more loan. You cannot do anything but sell more assets like the BSP shares, then ended up digging deeper and deeper into a vicious cycle. Going back to the BSP story, now that this systematically important bank is owned by foreigners, every time the bank collects all the money from ordinary Papua New Guineans and makes mega profits, the dividends will be paid to people who are not from PNG. Thus making the rich get richer, the poor gets poorer. Not only this, now the economic security of Papua New Guinea is in the hands of foreigners, worsening the economic wows PNG, something that is absolutely opposite of Marape's slogan, Take Back PNG. It used to happen in private, but now they laughed at PNG. The Tongan chief simply removed the iconic 3 Kundu drum logo of BSP and replacing it with the Tongan symbolism. But this isn't just about a logo, it's about ownership, identity, and sovereignty. Behind the branding change lies a more concerning shift. The gradual loss of Papua New Guinean control over one of its most important financial institutions. And on how BSP has evolved, you know the story, but evolved to what? Enriching foreigners in a rich Christian nation? Hear this. BSP's roots trace back to the Papua New Guinea Banking Corporation, PNG.BC, a 100% government-owned bank that once stood as a pillar of national economic strength. It was a bank for the people, by the people. Over time, however, a series of government-led privatizations saw PNG.BC merged into BSP, and with it, a slow erosion of public ownership began. What was once a state-owned bank symbolizing national pride? Why? Ask any economist. BSP is not just any bank. It is a systemically important bank now left vulnerable. You probably heard about the GFC or the global financial crisis of 2008. Almost the American economy and other countries that depended on it collapsed. How did it happen? The bank's significant assets were held by foreigners, and when they rushed to sell it back to Americans, no one was willing to buy, almost collapsing the American economy, causing panic among American citizens. Listen carefully. You think BSP's story is a simple one, but it is not. It holds the savings of our people, uses other people's savings to give loans to businesses and citizens to buy properties, supports imports and exports, conducts businesses and government transactions, holds trust accounts, exchange currencies. It holds all the money and our economy running. It is an important part of our livelihood and economic system. Now, PNG.July will be replaced by digital currency. We did a separate video on this and it is on our channel, so check it out. When this happens, your money will be sitting in the bank. You will be carrying only the digital code on your phones. But now, you do not own the bank, so who is looking after your wealth? Not only your money, but your land, house, and car mortgage securities. Think about it. In any country, such an institution would be fiercely protected by the state. In our case, the government failed to do so. Instead of managing its fiscal affairs prudently, the government of Papua New Guinea let go of its stake in BSP. That sale was a move that puts the nation at risk of losing influence over decisions affecting the economy, interest rates, lending practices, and national financial stability. On Post Courier, the Tongan chief, who is also BSP chairman, Robert Bradshaw, in changing the logo, sugarcoated by saying, "The bank is Papua New Guinean owned, and we are taking over the Pacific." Is he telling the truth? Big fat lie. The bank is now majority of Fijians and Tongans owned that now showcase their culture on the logo. The change of BSP's logo may seem cosmetic to some, but symbols matter, especially when they reflect the identity of a nation. Usually such decision is made by the board. The board represents shareholders. The controlling shareholders are usually the majority shareholders. Because patriotic Papua New Guineans are not sitting in the boardroom for lack of majority shareholding, this kind or decision that undermines the identity of PNG can easily be made by a simple vote-taking. The former 3 Kundu drums were not just a design choice. They represented unity, culture, and ownership by the people of Papua New Guinea. This is more than a branding exercise. It's a signal of shifting economic power balance. When leadership decisions are no longer grounded in local interests, but are instead influenced by offshore shareholders, the people of Papua New Guinea lose their voice in one of their most vital institutions. Look at China Bank, which remains locally owned and focused on supporting the development goals of Papua New Guinea. This is proof that a well-managed, nationally grounded financial institution can thrive without compromising its identity or sovereignty. If anything, the situation with BSP should be a rallying call to support and strengthen banks like China. The privatization of PNG.BC and the gradual loss of BSP to foreign control serve as a strong reminder of the consequences of poor governance, overborrowing, and short-term thinking. We are not just selling shares, we are selling sovereignty, influence, and future security. Thank you for following through. This shows you are a keen learner of what is happening in our country. The more you learn, the better informed person you become, ultimately making appropriate decisions in life. Like, subscribe, and comment if any, and let us explore more content that adds value to our knowledge.